Welcome to Life Generally, hosted by me, Jen Lofstrom.
And me, Jen Tran.
We are Gen Squared, and this podcast is about life as a Gen! Yay!
Hey Jen, how's it going?
Hey Jen, doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, end of the day, pants are off.
I know, I get it. It's a pantsless day. We have our pantsless podcast, so I'm wearing a dress, so not that revealing. But yes, it's way more comfortable than jeans,
Yeah. Every time when I get out of my car and into my home, I'm like wanting to take off my pants.
You put on PJs, though.
Still, you want to get stretchy pants.
Oh man, for sure. It's stretchy time. I just want to be comfortable, and yeah, I don't want to feel constricted when I get home.
So what's up? What's going on with you?
Any changes? Well, today I enjoyed wearing the stockings that are lined with fleece. Mm-hmm. So they look like you're wearing sheer stockings, but they're not sheer. They're an illusion.
Ooh.
So I think that was a big change for me in my wardrobe. And also I didn't have to shave my legs today before I went into work. So
better change.
I'll take it. Life-wise, I think that it's just I think the older that I get, the more that I just try to refocus what's, kind of prioritize, but not a huge shift right at the moment, which I'm thankful for, because last year this time there was a lot going on, and it is a lot to handle, change. The only thing that's constant is actually change. So
good or bad.
I know. You can't stop it, but yeah. How are you? How are things going for you?
It's going good. It's just the change of the season. I'm kind of glad that finally California has rain, desperate water that we need. And you know how in SoCal it's almost like endless summer? It's just nice to have a cold chill, even though some people are just saying your winters aren't real winters. And why are you wearing a jacket when it's only 60 degrees?
I rocked my rain boots every day it rained.
Yes.
And someone I saw, they were like, that is really I met up with an old friend and they were like, you were wearing those. She's from NorCal, so she's
she knows rain.
She knows rain, and she was like, oh, you're so cute with your little rain boots. And I was like, I gotta rock them when I can, because we don't get to wear them very often down here. So,
yeah.
I get that. I love the rain. I love rainy days. I love them more when I don't have to drive in them.
Yeah.
Because SoCalers don't know how to drive in the rain. And I am born and raised in SoCal. I'm not saying that I am pro, or I've come from, but I've been other places where it's raining and I'm like, these people are taking it easy. Here it's like death wish. And it's just a different, that's the thing. If you can stay home, maybe have a hot cocoa, that's nice.
Yeah. So this week's topic, we're talking about life changes. That could be a pivot, a transition, things like that. Changes that happens in your life. But particularly now in your mid-40s or in your midlife. So I did my ChatGPT talk, my bestie talk with the AI.
With your bestie AI, yes.
Yeah. So there's a difference between a pivot and a transition. And so a pivot is a sharp, intentional change. So if you think about it more like U-turn, but not just advance.
It's more like if you have a job, and then instead of trying to shift your position into moving up, you actually leave the company. That's more of a pivot, right? You leave the company to make up money instead of
same position,
gradually
but different.
promote. Yeah.
And a transition is a gradual change in the same direction, but a gradual change. So it's transformation within the same lane. And I kind of like that vibe definition of how
Yeah.
transition is. So what how do you think your life
Mhm.
has more pivots or transitions? Or a combination of both? Like right now, in the last couple of years in your 40s, what have you thought? Like starting at 40 to right now.
Well, bless you for thinking I only have a couple of years in 40, as I am strongly 47 right now. But someone told me this week they thought I was in my 30s, so I am
Nice. Oh,
running with that.
love them.
Yes, I know. I said, "Oh, bless you." I think that I've had both pivots and transitions.
Hmm.
For me, the pivots, which were sharp and intentional, I mean, some of them, I think you don't make that decision either. Life just
Hmm.
makes the decision for you. So going through a divorce, that was a pivot for me.
Was that like versus a transition?
No, because it was sharp. It
Okay.
was like, I think for me, it was sharp. For some people, it's not. For some people,
Hmm.
and I have friends who, they've been trying to keep the fire alive and it just wasn't there. And then they kind of fizzled. And that's, I feel like, a more of a transition. But for me,
Hmm.
it was kind of just like deuces. And then I got to figure out how to do all the things and, like move and pack. And there was a lot of transition there because it was like a domino of a pivot versus just a plan.
So it's like an abrupt pivot into
It
this
was.
transition
It
of
went
this
into a
new.
transition where it was like a year and a half of then like, okay, I'm going to move. We're going to purge things. We're going to go to court. All of those steps were like
Uh-huh.
transition, but the pivot was the beginning of it, the domino of it all.
Mm-hmm.
What
And
about you? Do you think that you've had any
transitions.
transitions versus pivots?
So my like transitions back in my 30s, I did a career transition, but a
Mm-hmm.
little bit like I kind of feel like it was a little bit of a pivot, but maybe a transition when I came from Corp Com and then
Yeah.
moved into UX. And so I call it transition because it took honestly like almost like a year and a half to finally say that I was a UXer, but I was thinking about it. So that was marinating in the background. But like when it happened, when I got laid off, it was an
Yeah.
abrupt pivot or like a
Yeah.
transition.
Yeah. You had to make a shift right then and there
Yeah.
because you were laid off. And so you were like, okay, this is my chance. And I think transition is a word that people use for a career more than they say a pivot,
Yeah.
and like it's just more of a like a nice way of saying that you've shifted gears. But yeah, I think that I've been laid off and I was laid off not that long, like a year or two after my divorce.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a huge, I was a single mom. So like trying to manage the household and losing your income
Yeah.
is
It's
it was
hard.
not a transition. It was
Yeah.
a pivot. It was also 2 weeks before Christmas and I hadn't done all my shopping. So like it was like
I wouldn't even call that like a transition or pivot. I feel like that's an abrupt like shutdown.
it is an abrupt shift that you cannot control. That was really that was I was really blessed because a lot of people were like, here's some gifts for Sam and stuff. So that
Uh-huh.
really helped me out with my son. But, I had to go from like, oh, I've got a budget for groceries to like, what's the cheapest thing I can make?
Yeah.
Ramen.
Yeah.
I think that those kind of forks in the road aren't really a fork in the road. They say they're a fork in the road, but you have no choice. I mean, the other choice is like losing everything, I guess.
Yeah.
But, I'm not wired that way though. So that's probably why my divorce was harder because I was like, "You don't give up. You will never say die."
Yeah.
And,
I think like the friendship or relationships when they transition in and out, like but
yeah.
particularly like a divorce or like a breakup, like a true
Hmm.
breakup like you or just going to it's a clean cut. It's very difficult in a way of like so when you got your divorce, did you
Yeah.
think it was a gradual thing or it was just like so abrupt you didn't see it?
I mean, if I look back now
Mm-hmm.
with, hindsight,
Mm-hmm.
I can see like, oh yeah, there was problems, the things were crumbling. But at the time it was very abrupt,
Yeah.
And I think that at that time my son's father was probably having a bit of a midlife crisis.
Mm.
So, which is like a different layer of all of this conversation, a pivot, a transition, and then a crisis. And where it was just kind of all happening at once. It was like restlessness, definitely,
Uh-huh.
and and like regret over missed opportunities. I heard about that. And so I think that that's like, according to the Calm app, actually, a midlife crisis is a period of reflection, questioning, and emotional turmoil. And so I think that divorce for my ex was a lot of emotional turmoil.
Uh-huh.
For me, it was just a lot of surviving, if
Yeah.
that makes any sense.
So, do you, since we are in middle age, have
Yeah.
gotten your midlife crisis, or have you
I mean, I think I feel like
are you
you know,
thriving?
I feel like there was like this definite like fabulous 40s in my early 40s.
Uh-huh.
I turned 40 when my divorce was happening. And so, I think that there was a lot of self-reflection and opportunities. I was able to go try new things and go out and just a lot more experiences and finding new hobbies. And it also freed up some time because my son goes, it's 50-50. So
Mm-hmm.
as I do consider myself like his mom all the time, but half the time he's with his dad. And so that meant I did have more time to do some things on my own, because when you're a parent with a kid at home all the time, it is not like that. And so I think that was kind of, for me, there was like a renaissance a bit, which I've asked other people who have been through the same like early mid 40s divorce, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of women will say like there's like definitely this renaissance of tapping into your younger self,
Mm-hmm.
reconnecting with old friends, and being more adventurous, doing the things on your bucket list that you've never done or you say you will. And so I think that for me was, I wasn't like out there like bar hopping with, the housewives of Orange County or anything like that. Like that, you know, I did have a drag queen bingo for my divorce party, but that was as crazy as it got. But I think because I was older and I had my son, that I wasn't very impulsive. Like a crisis is a lot more impulsive, but
Yeah.
I feel like, so it was a lot more transition at that point of how am I going to make this work, and but also growth.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of change. People don't realize you need
Change.
change to grow,
Yeah.
right? If you don't change, you're stagnant, and then things move past you,
Mm-hmm.
like you. And so that's, I think that is, it's kind of funny because it's kind of it was such a hard time. And I was told at the time, in 5 years you'll see this and think, wow, I'm really glad that I had that, I'm in such a better place. And that is true.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that. At the time it felt like a pit of despair, but being able to reevaluate what was important to me and make those things important for me, and how I raised my child and in my household and my values, like that was a really cool thing that I don't think everybody gets to have.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the fact that I could make it so my home was the way I wanted it to be. There was really no ifs, ands, or buts. There was no one else that I
Mm-hmm.
had to like bounce things off of. It was just like, this is what we're going to do. And so I think that's a lot of freedom that I appreciate looking back. And, at the time I had to move in from a 3 bedroom to a 1 bedroom
Yeah.
as my son, and that he was little guy, but we had to share this room, and basically it was his room and I had a bed in it. It was Batman everything, and then there was my corner that had a bed. But I was embarrassed. I was really sad that he had like how things were going.
Why
Um,
embarrassed? Like, that's the thing that I don't really understand transitions. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like,
I mean, there was pride like, I think that embarrassment comes from like pride, right?
mhm,
That's you've lost. And so I think that I was proud of the fact that we were in a 3 bedroom and we were doing, we had a trailer and my son, had his own room, and
mhm,
those were things that were kind of really pillars that I always thought about as a younger person that I wanted in my life,
mhm,
and wanted to go camping and I wanted to have a house and everybody have space and all that kind of stuff. And then it all went away with the divorce. And so I was ashamed. I was embarrassed that my son, I had to share a room with my son. Like, I could have slept in the living room. If he got older, I would have done that.
mhm,
But that was not where I wanted to be. So I was embarrassed. And I felt like there was also like, if someone found out, like, oh, you're living in a 1 bedroom with your son, like, there was this like, there was some judgment,
mhm,
and it, whether they meant it or not, there was some judgment,
mhm,
or a lot of like, just like, I'm so sorry, but not like empathetically sorry, more
mhm.
like a bit of a pity.
Ah,
and
okay.
and I am like, I mean, believe me, there was empathetic, really awesome people who jumped in and like became core people who helped us and like helped me relaunch everything in my life. But I grew up as a Gen Xer, and you're not supposed to give up. You're not supposed to go backwards. And this was a huge step backwards for
Mhm.
me, like, of the priorities that I had. And you're also not supposed to talk about your feelings, and you're a reflection of your family. So if I'm a reflection of my family, and then, my parents are helping me move out of my 3 bedroom to a 1 bedroom, then what does that look like to them? Now, that was all of my factory programming, that like generational stuff, you know, now whatever, like, it is what it is. And my parents loved me and they helped me through it. And my son looks back and thinks that those were cool days. He thought it was like having a sleepover every night,
Yeah.
and he liked it. And actually, when we first moved into our current place, he didn't know how to be in his room by himself. He was kind of like, oh, you want to come hang out in here, and like, and we had to sleep with my door open. We have a hall, like, and
Uh-huh.
so if I slept, I could sleep and he could sleep, and you could see each other down the hall,
Yeah.
because he was just not used to it. And um it is nice when you see those changes and realize that they weren't the hot mess that you thought they were. I mean, they were a hot mess, but
Mhm.
that the outcomes of it, and also I think that a lot of people are their worst critic, and I was beating myself up for failure.
Yeah.
And so to be able to look back and go, that was actually a really great decision in my life, and
Mhm.
that ended up allowing me to have the, freedom to go back to school and to get a better career and really concentrate on my time with my son and all of those things. That I don't know if that would have all happened if I was still,
In a
if the divorce never happened. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
like, this like abrupt change, and
right.
when you think you're about to sink into the world, it just like
Mhm.
you made the best of it and you thrived. Like,
Right, and I
fantastic.
did, and
Yeah.
that was, and I did some, like, health stuff, and, like, I had done Whole30, and I was,
Mhm.
like, feeling living my best life in many ways. Then the pandemic hit, so it's a good thing that I was living my best life before the pandemic hit, because if it wasn't happening before, that would have been a really hard pandemic.
Yeah.
Um, Especially since, all those people who ended up getting divorced during or after the pandemic from being stuck under the same roof with each other. So I was happy to have my own little like piece of my world and some
Yeah.
solstice, and just like that. I was thankful for that, to have that moment to grow. It was a total whiplash though,
Mhm.
to go from like, I am in a renaissance, to the world shut down, and I'm like, what? But everyone was it whiplash from that, and that wasn't a gradual transition into the pandemic. That was not, that was a straight up just slam, we have brick wall. But I think that what I learned from the pandemic change,
Uh-huh.
I learned that I actually, there's a part of me that's a little more introverted that likes to have time to myself.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that getting out in nature is something that I really like to do and want to continue doing. And I was doing that when I was younger, but it kind of been like I didn't have time for it. And now it's during the pandemic, I had time for it.
Mm-hmm.
And now I make time for it because it's a priority.
Yeah. Um
But
so okay, for me, for transitions,
yeah.
like my, as of right now, a midlife crisis for me, I have,
Mm-hmm.
maybe I'm going through it and I'm trying to, in denial, because I don't know, I'm spending more money on like makeup because I'm getting older. It's like, I think the part that I'm trying to grasp is like, you know how like when you hit your 40s, like the last of your younger years are gone, you know? Don't get me wrong, that like some people are saying like, you know, 50s are the new 30s, blah blah blah, but the fact is like you have X amount of time in this world. I have hit the midlife mark. I think I'm going to die when I'm 80, right? So if I am going to die when I'm 80, so I have 40 more years. Um and just like realizing like the
We're not
mortality.
celebrities,
Yeah,
with like hyperbaric chambers or anything like
exactly.
that. Like, yeah.
Yeah,
I
we're
mean,
not rich.
you look at amazing people out there who are like in their 60s and look like they're in their 30s, but that is not us.
Yeah,
So that
we're
the
average
reality.
people.
Yeah, we are average people. Um but that is a big transition, right? To
Yeah,
like go from, do you still feel like young or do you feel like midlife?
I I feel midlife because I've obviously realized I've slowed down, but I think I've slowed down purposely in a sense of like I'm out of shape, and
Mhm.
then you know, and then it's like I beat myself to like, oh well, you need to go to the gym, stuff like that. But
Oh,
so
yeah. Which I do too. Like that internal dialogue is the worst.
yeah.
And I wish that we could all be nicer to ourselves. I think maybe older daughters have that more than other people,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that it is, we just beat ourselves up, and it's not necessary.
Yeah.
There's even research that shows that if you can flip that as much as that script as much as you can, it like makes a huge difference
Mm-hmm.
in your outcomes for your days and like how productive you are and your happiness. So trying to retrain your brain and your inner monologue.
Yeah, like that's the thing that I'm doing right now is just trying to like be careful how I talk to myself, you know? Just like
Yeah.
you mentioned last time when we talked was about like how you danced in front of the mirror to like
Yeah,
pump
yeah.
yourself up.
Right.
And so I'm trying to like consciously think about like, okay, you know, practice kindness to yourself because it's going to lead to practicing kindness to other people, but just kindness to yourself. It's a little bit harder, but I think it's just like, you know, the level of stress that you put on yourself, is it necessarily like, even though like we are ladies in our 40s and we don't care about certain things, but we do care about a lot of things. It's not like you forgo a lot of like shame talking to yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, like this podcast is a total pivot from the last one where we talked about things we don't care about anymore in our
Yeah.
40s, and this really does shine the light on things you do care about, whether they're good or bad, right? Like,
Yeah.
you care about how you're looking and you want to be feeling good about yourself. And I think culturally we're encouraged to look younger than we are, and age is something that is shameful.
Mm-hmm.
And but to embrace it, it's just not easy. And also you kind of get thrown in it. It's not a gradual transition from your 30s to your 40s. You think it's going to be, you're like, oh, I'm 38 and like I'm going to be in my 40s. And then it's like at least for me,
Uh-huh.
it was this whole like, I'm 30s. Look at me. I'm 40. This is awesome. And then it was crash
Oh
burn.
yeah.
You
Like
know, like,
the changes of your body is
yeah.
more abrupt.
Hmm.
I would not say it's a pivot. Like it is definitely this abrupt of like realizing your mortality and let alone like what you can and cannot do, right? The things like when people say, okay, this is what I really hate when people say, "Oh, I wish when I was younger I ate better," blah blah blah. Dude, okay, I ate better when I was younger and it just got I just got tired of eating better. Fast forward, it's been 15 years. I'm like I'm okay with eating crap and a combination of eating good too, like eating healthy food.
You're
So,
more like moderation at this
yeah.
point than, but before, that diet mindset is
Yeah.
just like, the good food versus bad food kind of stuff.
Cuz
And
I don't necessarily and maybe there are people who say like if you ate better the whole time, your outcome of your body how it structurally ages and stuff like that will be what will be fine, right? But how about all those vegetarians who have heart attacks, like those vegans who have heart attacks? It's like your DNA. And the question that I always come up with is like, is it even worth doing it? It's like you're doing all these right things to
yeah,
know not knowingly genetically you're gonna have that heart attack. It's like, so why not enjoy that burger? I absolutely understand if you're doing it because of religious reasons. Like I'm a vegan because of religious reasons or political reasons, or like
right.
you just are a vain bitch and it just keeps you skinny and all that stuff. More props to you. Don't worry. Like, but yeah, it's like it doesn't matter. Your DNA and the outcome, regardless when you're 40, 50, 60, will catch up to you. Like it
And sometimes it's not even that, it's just life
yeah.
circumstances. Like, when you see one of those movies that someone steps out in front of a bus,
Yeah.
that you just like, you don't know what's going to happen in the future. You don't have a crystal ball, and so you could be the healthiest person in the world and an unfortunate accident could happen, and that is just the reality.
Yeah.
So, do you want to live your life the fullest while you're here, but like you also want to be healthy, so
Yeah. And
it's all
mindful
over
of
the
this
place.
body, like this
Yeah.
vessel that you have. Like you know how like the stories of like those like adrenaline junkies like who are runners, right?
Hmm.
Runners who are like, marathon runners or back to
They're
back
chasing the
marathons.
high.
Yeah,
Yeah.
chasing the high. Props to you, like honestly, but the wear out on your body, like it just accelerates more, wear and tear on your body. And it's like,
It's just extremes, right?
yeah,
If you're extremely like not eating, if you're extremely eating poorly and not taking care of yourself, then that's putting damage on your body. If you're extreme sports and or like running, and a lot of people who run have bad knees and stuff like
yeah,
that. So it's all, and it's all about balance, but you also just, your genes are a totally different thing. And my me for me, like, I thought my mom was going to live a lot longer than she did, but she
uh-huh,
passed in her late 60s from Parkinson's. And
uh-huh,
so I thought she was going to be in her 80s. My grandparents were in their 80s when they passed,
uh-huh,
and she couldn't predict that. That wasn't something we could know that was going to happen.
yeah,
So but she did do a lot of living. She was doing all the things that she really enjoyed for a long time. So I'm glad she had that mindset, because there are some people who say, "Hey, I'm just going to wait until I retire. And when I retire, I'll go to Hawaii. And when I retire, I'll do X, Y, or Z." When you retire, you're going to be napping,
yeah,
people. You're going to be napping. And you can travel and you can do those things, but your body is not the same body you have when you're in your 20s.
yeah,
And so,
20s or 50s or
yeah,
whatever, yeah,
yeah, it's just, I think your 40s, you have a little bit more reality that just sinks in.
uh-huh,
And I really do think that we're just, you're I'm a total optimist. The glass is half full we're gonna do this, all of those kind of things. And then in my 40s, just this like, hey, yo, I am not going to be a size 0 this summer. That is not what's happening. That is not
Yeah.
achievable. And if you are, rock it, girl. If you're not, wear a bikini. All bodies wear bikinis. They're not meant for one body or another. But I just have a lot more, I kind of set the bar a little more realistically.
Yeah.
I still try to set it higher so I can go for things a little higher, but I'm not putting myself in a box that, you know, you have to have the social media box.
Yeah.
That's like when I was a kid, my grandma had a photo album that it said Grandma's Brag Book. Okay. And it was all pictures of us. And my mom said that Facebook was the modern day brag book. And it is. It
Uh-huh.
is. It's pictures and it's all the sugary, happy things that are happening. And some people are willing to actually share real life things. And
Mhm.
for those people, I say props to you because we all need to have someone say that we're not the only ones going through the crap we're going through.
Mhm.
But social media makes everything look like it's just going to be amazing.
Yeah.
And it's not the truth. Life happens and things change and you have to change with them. If you don't change with them, it's just going to pass you by. It's not going to not change.
Yeah.
That
It's
that's like whether you're optimist or not, that is just a fact. So I think that I have a little less of a Pollyanna look at those kind of things now. Where before I'd be like, and it's all going to work out fine. And it's like, it's all going to work out the way it's going to work
we're
out. And you're going to make the best of that.
I love that. Like the Pollyanna you under 40, everything's gonna work out
Yeah, exactly.
fabulously. Now it's
Yeah.
like it's just gonna work out. It's gonna work out.
It's just going to work out and we're going to make it work at that point. That is
Yeah.
the difference. And that's been a transition to go from that mindset. It's not, it wasn't a pivot. It was definitely a transition. It was a little more life experience every step of having a new thing happen, circumstances, health, all of those things, family dynamics, those steps of like, okay, I have one more layer in this onion. And then you realize, okay, I'm transitioning into a different spot in my life. I'm transitioning into a different mindset.
Yeah.
And uh, it's it would be too hard to just shift your mind that fast. I think
Yeah.
that's not it, it would give me a headache if you did that. If you're just like snapped your fingers and all of a sudden, hey, you're in this new
New phase or whatever.
decade and
Yeah.
everything's changed and you're having to figure it out. I mean, I guess that's probably like Freakier Friday or Freaky Friday, but I'm a big Disney fan, so props out to you, Freaky Friday. But sorry, besties, I'm cheesy and that's just the way it is. But I think that most people are transitioning in some way or another.
Whether it's a pivot or a crisis or
Right. There's
yeah.
something, whether it's gradual change or it's just a direction change.
Mm-hmm.
And the crisis, you definitely want to like, there's things can go off the rails with a crisis that you have to kind of keep in mind. Like sometimes people will get into drugs and impulsivity things and those kind of things. It's just risky. So you have to understand that you're not invincible.
Yeah. And also like I hope, besties, that you know yourself. There's a certain age that you know yourself, and I hope in your in your midlife, you know more about yourself than you did in your 30s. Your 20s you don't know about yourself. You're inventing yourself, right? 30s is like
Yeah.
slowly you're getting to know who you are, but really I think 40s is like you know yourself a little bit better, and I'm kind of looking forward to 50 in a sense of like really knowing yourself, like
Yeah, I think that's I agree. I
Yeah.
think 50s are something I'm striving for, and hopefully I'll be out of perimenopause, so then I'll even be in better,
Better
uh,
situation, better health.
better health, less hot flashes, and uh, yeah, I think that I I have been really secure with myself for most of my life, but I do have those times where intrusive talks, negative self talk, that still comes through.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I definitely feel like there was a moment in my 40s where I was like, hey, I like me, and
Mm-hmm.
that's cool. And I really hope that everyone has that thought that they can say, I like this. And I also had the thought of, because I'm naturally a people pleaser, but it's like, I like me and you don't have to like me. That was a big shift for me.
Uh-huh.
I don't have to make you like me, because you probably won't. If you already don't like me, you're not going to like me. But that was like, I feel like that was a really good pivot of mindset
Mm-hmm.
of like going from, I want everybody to like me, to like, you know what? I'm happy with who I am, and they're going to think what they're going to think. I can't control those things.
Yeah. So, okay. So let's play a game, transition or pivot, okay? So I'm going to
Sounds
ask
good.
you a question.
I feel like we should have some music,
I
like
know.
da 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 da, transition or pivot.
Okay. Quitting your job. So, in this sense, when you're quitting your job, it's a toxic work environment. Is that a pivot or transition?
I think it's a pivot.
Okay. I would agree too. It's a pivot. Okay. How about changing your careers? Your
I
career.
think I think that's a transition, because you have to kind of put some things in be mindful about changing your career
Uh huh.
to make it happen. Um, so I would say transition for that one.
Okay. How about life events? A divorce, transition or pivot?
I think the divorce was both,
Uh huh.
if that makes any sense at all. I think that it was a transition of a new life and lifestyle, but a pivot of everything else.
So, would you like? I think of a divorce as a life hole, then into a transition.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Um.
Definitely, like if there was earthquakes with the tectonic
Yeah.
plates, it's like there's an eruption, there's a shake, everything shifts, and then you got to kind of make it all work out, and that's what I feel like that is. It's a shift that you transition
Okay.
and
How
learn
about
learn from.
buying a house?
Um,
Transition or pivot?
I mean, you would know more about this than I. I've moved a bunch, but like I think it's a transition,
Mm-hmm.
because you're saving the money and trying to do all those things, and then you also transition into like, this is my responsibility. No one else is going to come fix my roof.
Yeah.
I have to set that up, and I have to have the mortgage payments ready, and
And be stable. Yeah, definitely. I
yeah.
do agree it is a transition, but it's like you've achieved this life goal. Like those people who like finally got to buy their home first time and
Mhm.
after like renting for a long time, it is like you've achieved your life goal or to becoming a homeowner and then you transition to being a homeowner and you're just like, this sucks. Like you're when you
It's
rent
not
you
all that it's cracked
yeah,
out to be.
exactly.
It also depends on where you're living, like
Yeah.
property taxes, HOAs, all of those
Yeah,
things.
it's just a compound of is this really a good investment?
It's just, yeah. I rent, and I'm okay with renting. I do have the goal of owning, but I'm okay with someone else having to fix my place at this point in my life. I gotta take care of myself. I don't want to be taking care of all the other things. So, like, props to you, JT, for being able to. You got it, and it's a lot more responsibility
Yeah.
owning a home. It is.
Okay, how about having children? Unplanned. What do you think that unplanned children? Transition or
Well,
pivot?
that's. I think that that's a pivot if it's unplanned. I mean, it's a shift,
Yeah.
right? It's like
It's an abrupt shift, right?
abrupt shift. Yeah, I think that planned, it's still an abrupt shift in a
Once a
way.
baby is born, it's like, ah!
You think it's going to be one way, and it is not that way. So your hormones,
Uh-huh.
how your family dynamics change, your relationship with your partner, the lack of sleep is
Mm-hmm.
for reals.
Okay.
Those things is a big. You could transition during pregnancy. You're like, I'm nesting and I'm planning these things and I'm reading the books,
Uh-huh.
and then you get in it and you go, whoa, this is way different than what
Yeah.
I was expecting. And that's why, having a core group of friends, having a tribe of people, your family that can support you is really helpful during something like that. Having a kid, getting a divorce, those people, those resources
Yeah.
are huge because that transition is going to continue.
Yeah.
But I think when you have a baby, the
It's a
hormone
life
stuff,
abruption or
it's
life
totally
altering.
life altering.
Yeah.
And some people, it might be harder to shift to that to others. Like, there's people who end up having postpartum depression, and
Mm-hmm.
that's a real thing. And it's nothing to be ashamed of. So
Yeah.
besties, if any of you are struggling, please, you want to get out there and make sure you find the help you need. And we will have some resources listed too in our chat on our podcast. But we want you to know, like, I think it's 881 is like what you can call for mental health, but I'll
Mm-hmm.
double check it. um Nothing to be ashamed of. Mental health is a real deal, and hormones and life changes, they will do that to you.
Okay. How about moving out of your parents' house? Is that a transition or a pivot? You're in your mid 40s and you did this.
You're in your 40s and you
Yeah,
moved out?
like you're a late start.
No, okay, no judgment.
No
Maybe you
judgment.
saved a lot of good money and that's good for you. I would say that's a huge pivot. I mean, it's a transition. Hopefully you've been planning for it. But if they were
Man, I
just
hope
like,
that's a transition, man.
if they just like kicked you out and like, peace out,
I'm like, you gotta be
you're
an adult.
you got to leave the nest,
Yeah.
then that would be an abrupt shift for sure. Hopefully you've been figuring it out. And I mean, even I moved out in my early 20s,
Mhm.
and but I did silly things like old fashioned things where I had a hope chest and I had some dishes that I got there ahead of time, and I had like a little stockpile of things for my future home.
Yeah.
And I still have them. So I think that can be a transition. It just depends on your circumstances.
Okay. How about death of a family member in your the inner circle family
Right. Like, yeah, like losing my mom.
or sibling or whatever,
Yeah, it's a transition, but it's abrupt. Like,
Mm-hmm.
for me, it depends on how the person has passed. If someone passes abruptly,
Like they got hit
then
by a car, you like okay,
yeah, or
abrupt
they just had a heart attack
attack
and
and
they were like the healthy person that, which is like way it was with my uncle. Like, none of us expected him
Mhm.
to pass. He was healthy, he's fit, he could kung fu fight anyone. So I think that was definitely just a shift, an abrupt
Mhm.
shift. And um, for his kids, it's probably been a bigger transition at this point. But I think that in my case, when you watch someone being sick for years,
Mhm.
it was a transition.
Yeah.
I went from trying to fight for everything to whatever is most comfortable
Yeah.
for my family member was my mindset.
Did so was the grief like which one would you rather have? Like in like watching
It's totally different. It's just totally, I don't know. They both suck.
yeah.
Grief is love that hurts,
Mhm.
but it sucks.
Yeah.
Like, I think that I was prepared for my mom's passing, and I watched her be sick for
A long time. Yeah.
4 years. So for me, that was, I kind of had gone through the grief for years and had
Mhm.
come to terms with it. And I think where someone passes away suddenly, it's just right in your face.
Yeah.
And you don't have time to process it the same way. So they're just hard in different ways, but they're both hard.
Yeah. Okay, how about this one? This your house burnt down like the Eaton fire.
Oh golly gee.
Th-
That's horrible. I'm so sorry if any
yeah.
of you have dealt with that, or if your house has collapsed because of snowstorms or tornadoes or anything. Loss of a home, it is catastrophic.
Yeah,
That
that's
is
like a
something
life event. That's
alter
almost, yeah,
yeah,
changing. Done.
yeah. This change you cannot prepare for. I mean, maybe some people have some really good insurance. I know from people who I know who've lost their houses, most insurance, they don't actually get much for what they got. So, yeah, that's a huge shift. That's just an abrupt shift, a life change.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a pivot or if it's transition because you're just having to kind of do
Make the
everything.
best of
Yeah,
it and fight for a good fight with insurance.
it's got totally different, like, ball of wax. It's a
Yeah.
lot to take on. So that is it's going to be a huge shift and you're going to have to fight for what you want
Hmm.
and that's a big part of it, fortunately.
Okay. How about, okay, the next one would be the topic for that, or the subject for that category for that would be lifestyle. Being diagnosed of something, is that a transition or a pivot? That could be cancer, that could be diabetes, that could be PCOS, that could be anything.
Right.
So like,
I think it depends on the gravity of it, like
mm-hmm,
how severe it is. For me, that I have PCOS, and I think that that's been a transition
mm-hmm,
where I've gradually learned different things to do to help fight my insulin resistance.
mm-hmm.
But it's also coming to terms with it is a big part of a diagnosis, right?
Yeah.
Is just like wrapping your head around it and then making the decisions to go from there. Watching family members who have had cancer, I think most people go into fight mode in the beginning,
Yeah.
and then that's a quick turn, right?
Yeah.
That's a
That's it.
quick
That's a pivot. Yeah.
that's a quick pivot, but and then after that, it's all kind of a transition.
Yeah. I agree. I definitely agree. Like, cancer is a pivot. It can be a catastrophic event, like depending on how the diagnosis. For me, I have diabetes, that I have type 2 diabetes, and that is more like a pivot to transition, like, realizing that you have this because
Right.
of being a sloth or just not eating right, or your genetics. Realistically, it's my
A lot of
genetics.
it's genetics.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Don't beat yourself up. Your inner monologue is coming out right now.
All right. How about deciding to become a vegan? If you're not
Well,
vegan, but you decide to become a vegan.
it just depends. I mean, it's a pivot, but you could gradually go into it, right? You could start eating less and less meat
Yeah,
and become a vegetarian and then a vegan.
yeah, I agree. That's a transition, but I don't
If
know.
you go straight into it, you're going to hurt yourself. It's just like if you go from a vegan straight into eating meat, you'll get sick.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that safely should be transitions.
Okay. So this one is your partner decides to do a change or pivot. Let's say and it's affecting you, right?
Uh huh.
So it'd be like a career move. Your partner quits their job.
Yeah.
Is that a pivot or a change? How do you see it on them? Or is this kind of like, what are you thinking? You're not thinking about the family type of deal.
I think it just it depends on how planned it is. If it's
Mm-hmm.
abrupt, then it's a shift into a pivot into a transition, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when I had my son and after I was going to be done with my, what is it, like you're getting assistance for staying at home and stuff, your medical leave.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we decided financially it didn't make sense for me to go back to work at that time
Mm-hmm.
because of the cost of childcare for a newborn is crazy town.
Yeah.
And so I was going to end up making a fraction of the money back, like with between gas and that, and then have a kid who was little and getting sick and stuff like that. So I decided I was going to stay home and I was going to finish school when my son was a baby. So that was a big shift for us. It was a transition though. Like we
Mm-hmm.
made the plan and then we figured it out and talked to family and we were able to make it happen. But it's if someone loses a job, then that's like, oh man. If someone just quits a job, I don't know. I as a former married person, if you just quit a job and we got to pay for the roof over our head, and you don't got something else figured out, then I am not happy. But, you know,
How about the partner, the husband or wife moves, like they got an offer from another area, another state or something.
well, that's a big pivot. That's a
Yeah.
big pivot. And, I know relationships where they've had to live in separate states due to work, and I think that it's a huge shift if you and you will have to like make a lot of change
Mhm.
to make it work in your relationship and financially and all of the things, emotionally, fiscally. So you can't just make that kind of a decision. I wouldn't recommend making that kind of decision just like a snap choice, like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm going to move to out of state right now. So you would hope that is a transition, but it's going to be a big transition.
Yeah. For both parties.
Yeah.
Okay, how about moving into a different town? Just yourself. Is that a transition or a change or a pivot?
It If you're moving into a different town where you don't really know people, it's more of a pivot.
Uh-huh.
If you move somewhere and you know people, I think it's just a shift. It's just a transition where you're learning the area, but you have some people you can talk to and stuff. But I think if you just like move and you don't know anyone in the area, that's a bigger pivot.
Okay. That I didn't think it that way. I thought more if I moved to a different town that is more of a yeah, more of a pivot, but pivot as in like I don't know anybody and I have to accept the fact of it versus if I transition to the town, like I'm slowly moving, I'm actually looking at the area, right? Like and slowly planning
Yeah,
it.
right. And that's different. I guess it depends on how much you plan and how much time you have to like go into that. Like if you look and you know about the schools already and you go into like find a church or whatever, like that is a slow transition that you're kind of finding your way in your town.
Okay. Okay, the next category is mindset. Deciding to say yes. Like New Year's, you decided to make the year of yes. Is that a
Mhm.
transition or a pivot?
Well, I think it's a pivot.
Mhm.
It's a transition of making that decision, unless you're very impulsive and just go, what's up? I'm just going to do it. But I
Yeah.
think it's a transition to make it happen and work. It's a transition. And my year like that was my motto was if not now when,
Right.
and that's how I kind of approach opportunities instead of just saying no. And I didn't say yes all the time, because if it was like if not now when, and it was like, well, I could do that next year, then okay, there's still an opportunity there. But
Mhm.
I think that it's definitely a transition. And if any of you besties out there want to do that, I think it's a great idea to try to like change your mindset and look at opportunities in a different way.
Okay. I agree with you with that. Like I think it's like the measure of where you got that inspiration. The
Yeah,
exception to the idea is a transition to actually executing it.
right.
So, yeah, definitely it is a I think that is a transition because you do have to mentally prepare for that. How about the decision or taking control of your life? Like turning that thing on. Like you got tired of you know, people guiding, not necessarily guiding your life, but like you feel kind of not in control of your life. But then finally, you just woke up and decided, like, today's the day I'm going to take control.
Right. Or the day that I'm just not going to care about other people's opinions,
Right.
right? Like,
Right.
I think that, I mean, it technically is a transition where you kind of, it's a build up to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that in my life, when I've made those decisions, it's pretty much like I have had enough. This is the straw that broke the camel's back. And now, like, I'm going to do what I want to do, and you guys go do yourselves.
Yeah.
So, I mean, technically that's a transition, right? Because you're getting to a point and then you make the change. But for me, it's more like I'm the bottle keeps being shaken
Mm-hmm.
until I'm about to explode, and then I make the choice to do what I want so I don't blow up. So that's,
Okay. How about betting on yourself?
you know, I think that betting on yourself is a really cool idea. I think that if you can, you would say, "Hey, I've got the ability to do this. I'm just going to bet on myself." Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I've really done that in my life. Have you done that in your life?
Don't we always do that in your life? Like a career change, going back to school, like
Yeah, you're right. I
getting,
mean, even this podcast is like
yeah.
betting on ourselves, right? It's just like people don't know who we are and we're not famous,
Yeah.
but we're betting on ourselves that someone might listen out there.
Our one
So,
bestie.
our one bestie. Thanks, bestie. You're the best
I know.
bestie.
You're the best.
I think that's a transition. I think that it's a shift of your mindset.
Really? I think that's always a pivot. I think
You
it
think it's a
always,
pivot?
to me, that's because it's
Hmm.
like, it's always that moment, those times when you say, that mental thing that you say to yourself in the back of your head that you said, no, don't do it. No, don't do it. And then for some reason,
You're just
you
like,
just
F
say,
it.
yeah, F it. I'm going to say yes. Like, let's do it. Like it just, you're not,
It does feel usually like there's a fire that's kind of started and then the combustion is
yeah.
just there.
Because it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, how many times can you control that fire inside before it bursts? And I think that's why I think it's more like a pivot, because it's like, that mindset in yourself, like, was just like, no. And then that one moment when you say yes to yourself, about,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
a flicker, right? It's a glimmer of change.
yeah,
I mean, and that like other kind of set a shift on that is also like admitting you need help, right? Yeah, that is I think that that's also a big pivot. That's a mind like I think that someone admits that and asks for it. Obviously things have led up to it, but I think it's one of these kind of quick decisions that happens and you have to roll with that momentum.
yeah, I agree. So, Jen, you were talking about crisis, or like, catastrophical ideas on mental health and stuff like that. Do you have any tips that you want to share?
Yeah, I went online and like we do for most of our
The
information
good old
nowadays.
internet.
There's no Encyclopedia Britannica over here, guys. I'm aging myself by saying that. Love you, Encyclopedia Britannica. I'm sure you're out there still doing a good job.
Continue
I
on.
I went on to Healthline and they said that there was some tips that they had on how to combat basically preventing yourself from going into a midlife crisis. If you can recognize these signs and just kind of flip the script, then you can make it a renaissance and not an emotional roller coaster.
Uh-huh.
So, I think that a lot of women, especially our age, are one of those things is learning how to prioritize yourself.
Yeah.
And that is something I have heavily struggled with. Boys put everyone else first. So that is something that it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
especially if you've been like raised that way, that is a big shift. But it's important. It's important you take care of yourself. Like in an airplane, they say you put the oxygen mask on and then put it on someone else if you're taking care of someone else. So that is important. Acknowledging changes, being like, hey, yo, this is happening. I am aware of it. Learning something new. Right now, I'm learning how to play drums. So
Nice.
that will it was like things were so tough a while ago. I had so many things happening at the same time, and I was like, I need something positive. I'm going to play the drums. So I think that that's something like if you can kind of think of some way to get yourself doing something different, focusing on your love life, staying active, changing some healthy habits, spending time outdoors, find a passion, pursue a new passion,
Uh-huh.
and obviously therapy. And therapy is really a great thing for anyone. You don't have to be in a crisis to go to therapy. You could just be a normal person who wants to go to therapy. So I think that those are some great tips from Healthline about making sure that you take your midlife pivot and not let it go into a crisis.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for the tips. So, what's our burnout meter this week? Are you
Um,
dead, exhausted, surviving, content, or thriving?
I think that I still am surviving. I feel like I'm surviving. I mean, I'm like content-ish.
Uh-huh.
I think that when you make some movements and you have some projects that go well and that kind of stuff, that helps me feel content. But I don't know, I'm still in my 40s and I'm tired. I really agree with that. What about you? Are you dead, exhausted, surviving, content, or thriving?
So yesterday I had a workout. This podcast is not sponsored by Orange Theory Studio Gyms or Fit Gyms.
If they want to sponsor,
yeah, definitely, please reach out to us and sponsor us.
I could use some health tips, guys. So let's get this going. I need to make that change.
I went to my first class and it felt so honestly, it kind of felt like my old self, like in my 20s.
Oh.
I just felt like light again.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I haven't worked out in a long time, but I haven't done an Orange Theory class in a long time.
It kind of just got you in that headspace again, though, where you did feel younger.
Yeah,
right?
It was just
it was a challenge, but it invigorated you still too, which is awesome. Good for you!
Yay!
So you think that you're content then?
No, definitely not content. This reinvigorated me from exhausted to surviving.
Well, at least you're not exhausted. That is one step up.
Yes.
We will take that win. And I think, like female health scale, that I'm still just like kind of rolling with it. It's 7, but I have learned, I don't know if this is totally female health, but it kind of is parallel to it. Like I'm learning ways to deal with my perimenopause symptoms, like keeping fans with me and drinking more water. So I think that those are improvements to making at least things a little more bearable. Yeah.
I want to say I'm a 7 as well. Like I can't run 8-minute miles or anything still. So,
but you went into exercise, and that is health.
Yeah.
And you're female, so that also is female health.
Yeah.
Just saying.
So I think I'm more of a 7 versus a 6. So
okay.
So yeah.
Good for you. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I'm proud of you.
Yay! So, Jen, where can they find us if they want to tell us more about their life pivots? If our besties want to talk to us about any of their changes or transitions, where can they reach out to us?
Yeah, besties, you can reach out to us on you can email us at lifegenerally, spelled with a J, at gmail.com. That is lifegenerally at gmail.com. Or if you want, you can DM us or follow us on Instagram at life.generally, spelled with a J, on Instagram, life.generally.
We're going to have to come up with a shirt that says spelt with a J. It'll make sense for us, our besties.
If we get more popular, we will make shirts. Life, generally spelled J. So you can all wear it.
Our legion of fans. Because we bet on ourselves.
Yes.
All right.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Peace out, guys. JT, you're the best. Thank you for everything.
You too. J-Lo, thank you.
We even have nicknames for ourselves because we're both Jens. So that's the way it goes.
All right.
Well,
thanks for listening.
Peace and love. Jen squared out.